So in this program, I've created a TV show library. When I sit down in the evening to watch a show, we have different services, Netflix, HBO Max, and sometimes I can't remember what show goes on which service. So I thought this would be a kind of a handy program to write. So when they run the program, there are 5 different options: to add a show, to search for a show. And so if I'm watching Ted Lasso and I can't remember which service to go to, I can search for the show and enter Ted Lasso and then search for that show. And then list of shows on the on a service, so I can enter HBO Max and it'll show me all the shows I watch on HBO Max. Just print a list of all the shows and then quit. So if I run the program right now, I can add a show, Bridgerton, and that's on Netflix. And then I can print my list of shows, and you can see it just is printing the list. So the first thing we are going to implement is actually search for a show. And I already have my calls up here to find the show. So that'll be my def. Okay, and then when I search for the show, I'm going to prompt the user for the show name. And then I'm going to look through the show name or the shows list to see if that show name is in there. And if it is, then wherever that show name index is, it will be the same index that's in the services list because they are parallel lists. So I'm going to go look at my list.py, and we already wrote this in an early video, but this is a function to find an index of a value given a list. So I'm going to use this function when I'm looking for that show name. And if this function returns -1, I know that the show name is not in there. And then going to my valid py, I am going to call this function to make sure that they enter a valid name for the show. So I'll use the get string. So back over here, I need the show name and then an index. And I'll set that at 0. And then I'm going to prompt the user for the show name. And that's in my, let's see, the valid, so that's V. So v.get string. And then enter name of show to search for. Okay, and then I'll set index to, that's in the list the list module. And let's see, it's called find index, and I need to pass it the list and then the value. So find index, and it's going to be in the shows list and then the show name. Okay, so I'll pass it the entire list and then the show that the user typed in, and if it's in this list, this function will return the index, otherwise it will return -1. So if the index is equal to -1, I'm going to print a message, show name is not in your list. Else I'll print show name streams on, and then services, it's going to be on the services list at index, right? So if this function found where the show is, it's going to be at that same index in the services because these are parallel lists, right? So streams on that service. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. And I'll add a show, Bridgerton, and that's on Netflix. And I'll add another show, Ted Lasso, and that's on Apple TV. And I'll add another show. There's too many S's. And that's on HBO Max. And then I'll print the list. Okay, but now I want to search for a show. So I'll do 2. Name the show you want to search for. Fresh Prince. Fresh Prince is not in your list. Okay, how about Ted Lasso? Ted Lasso streams on Apple TV. Okay, and then that's how you would use the find index function to find the index of a value in one list and then use that index to get the value in another list.